The Locked On Podcast Network presents The Big 6 in 60. The 6 biggest national sports stories from the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Get the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now with the biggest story in sports.
So the Yankees won the Carlos Rodon start, just not the way they thought they would.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast.
I've been watching baseball for 45 years, right? Where I was cognizant, I should say. And this was one of the strangest Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde games I've seen in a really long time from the Yankees. And it really felt like two separate games, honestly. The first 3 innings were just different. And then the rest of the game felt like what we thought the Yankees would be in the playoffs.
On multiple occasions in this game, the season was over at multiple different times.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. I mean, that from a 2-run homer in the first inning out of Guerrero, from Rodon being taken out of the game as early as he did, from the inning the Blue Jays put together in the top half of the third inning and just ending the game there at that point. I mean, the game was over at multiple different occasions. And the common denominator in all of those innings is the Yankees found a way to answer at the bottom half of every one of those innings. They didn't necessarily come back and tie it, but they answered at the bottom. They showed fight. They didn't give up at any point in this game. This was one of the better team efforts the Yankees have had throughout the entire season.
This was a complete win, other than Rodon.
As crazy as that sounds to say, yeah.
Right? Because other than Rodon, everyone else picked him up in the bullpen, right? The offense started to step it up. And you mentioned the scoring. So the Blue Jays scored 2 in the top of the first. The Yankees scored 1. You know me with numbers. The Blue Jays score 4 in the top of the third, and the Yankees scored 2. So they halved it. Yeah. I noticed it in the box score when they showed it on the TV, and I was like, "Oh, that's
so giddy." Yeah,
I'm like, "That's kind of cool." Okay, and I said to my brother, "If they keep them at 6, they can win this game because they're gonna have to go to the bullpen at some point." And the key was that Schneider took Bieber out when he did and used most of his bullpen. So now the Yankees are going to see those guys again in Game 4. And I will say that I agree with John Smoltz because he said it on the broadcast. The more you see these guys, the more you get used to them.
Yeah.
It's easier to hit them.
Can I take a chance to gloat, please, for a second? Just
sure.
2 seconds.
Sure.
There were a ton, and I mean a ton, of Blue Jays fans in our comments over the last week that went at me for saying the middle part of the Blue Jays bullpen is not good at all. They took tremendous amounts of offense to me saying that, even though their middle part of their bullpen has a 6 ERA this year. That's besides the point. Don't let the numbers fool you. And to me, this game proved it. Yeah. When you saw Bieber coming out of the game as early as he did, it almost gave you a little more hope as a Yankee fan that, they get to face the middle part of this bullpen. Yeah. And it gives you, hear me out. This might sound crazy. I almost think it would have been better for the Blue Jays, for Schneider, to leave Bieber in and let him get shelled and avoid the Yankees from seeing this bullpen.
Right.
Because it gives you a shot in Game 4. And if the Yankees don't see that bullpen and they don't know what's coming at them in Game 4, you can just win Game 4 for the Blue Jays and move on in the series.
This feels similar to the Alex Cora thing, right?
It feels like a grave mistake out of Schneider because now the Yankees get to see that bullpen a day in advance and see them again tomorrow. And, I guess later today at this point. And now they've seen these guys twice, and for sure you're seeing these guys tomorrow. So now you've seen these guys twice in the span of less than 24 hours. I don't know if that was the best move out of Schneider. It doesn't feel like it was a smart move, to be honest. I think you're better off letting if the Yankees are going to come back and you're going to get shelled, you might as well let Bieber get shelled.
Right. Yeah, that felt like a strange move to me, but it felt like the advantage for the Yankees, which made me happy because I thought, okay, this is actually going to help the Yankees. Thank you, John Schneider, very much for doing this for them. So Rodon, 2 1/3 innings, just abysmal.
Not good enough.
Awful. Just this, you can't have a game like this when your backs are against the wall. And it was so demoralizing when the Blue Jays went up 6-1 and you're thinking to yourself, great, so they're going to get swept out of this series. Another team is going to celebrate on their field, and it's going to be so demoralizing for everyone watching. Every Yankee fan is just going to sit there and be like, what is the point of this? Plus, not only that, there were a couple of plays in the beginning of the game. Jazz not throwing the ball to home fast enough. And I'm not going to really blame Bellinger, but there were a couple of plays where you're just like, oh, they're doing it again. They're playing with horrible fundamentals. They're not doing what you want them to do. The starting pitcher came out and just basically took a big pile of excrement on the pitching,
on the fan base.
Right? And it just felt like it was going to be one of those losses.
Yep.
Then the bottom of the third happens. And when they halved the score and made it 6-3, that's when I thought to myself, all right, it's still really early. If they
they're fighting.
If they can keep them at 6, maybe they have a shot. And boy, did they have a shot. My goodness, what a turn. This almost feels worse for the Blue Jays than losing game 4, because you had the Yankees on the ropes. You were up 6-1 early in the game.
I'm sure there were a few people in Toronto who bought tickets online for the ALCS when they saw the score.
I mean, it still could happen, obviously.
Of course, but I mean,
they were just expecting the sweep. No offense to the Yankees, but I was too when they went down 6-1.
Yeah,
but when they cut it to 6-3, and I saw how early it was, and I knew that Bieber probably wasn't going to be in the game long because the Yankees were starting to hit him, I thought to myself, if they could just keep them at 6, if the bullpen can keep them at 6, and they did. They did what they needed to do. The bullpen that people were making fun of, I saw posts on social media like, oh, the Yankees bullpen can do the funniest thing right now once the Yankees tied the score.
Yeah.
And they were fantastic. They also didn't go to Weaver, which I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Good job,
They
Boone.
couldn't use him. They knew they couldn't use him.
Yeah. The one thing that scared me slightly was them losing the 2 challenges and losing them for the rest of the game. But then it turned out that the catcher's interference that they thought they had didn't even matter, because then Grisham hit the double and it worked out to be okay. I saw better at bats from guys, not Volpe, but most of the other guys, I saw better at bats from them. The defense, that play that Jose Caballero made.
Yeah, and I want to say this too, to the bullpen point you were making earlier. They preach all year whenever guys have bad appearances that, oh, I thought he had great stuff and he was fine and he just got to fix this and tweak this. I'm very happy that they admitted to themselves, hey, Weaver doesn't have it.
Right.
Like, he's out of the circle of trust. I know it was 3 bad appearances. That's all it takes. He's done.
Yeah.
And I love that they didn't go to Weaver trying to show their faith in him. You can't mess around with faith in guys at this point. Season's on the line. So I like that they did that too. But
they're showing faith in Devin Williams because he's been pitching well.
He's deserved it. He's deserved it. He's pitched. Yep. I mean, to his credit, he hasn't pitched well all year, but this is to a lot of Yankee fans, it doesn't matter what you do all year. It matters what you do now. And he's been pitching really well in the postseason.
So the Judge home run, let's discuss this, because
the Judge game. Forget the home run, the game that he had.
I mean, he's batting over 500.
Yeah.
And
he was a triple shy of the cycle.
Yeah. And the knock on him was that he wasn't hitting in big spots. He was hitting when no one was on base. And that, it doesn't help when Trent Grisham's up ahead of him and not hitting the ball, because at one point in the game, Trent Grisham was batting my ideal weight, 143. So, there were some factors. And yes, he did come up in spots and didn't pull through, but this is the thing about that home run. First of all, when it happened, my brother's like, how did he hit that pitch? Because it was 99.7 miles an hour. It's the fastest pitch he's ever hit for a home run. It was also 1.2 feet inside. And he hit it like 3/4 of the way up the foul pole.
The height on the ball is absurd. absurd, the height on the ball. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and that was per James Smythe of Yes. And then Sarah Langs. Judge's home run is Major League Baseball's first since at least 2008 when pitch tracking started. That was off a pitch that fast and that far inside. No one hits balls there except for Aaron Judge now.
That was it's crazy because I actually think he has rightfully gotten the flag that he's gotten this season so far. And it's, say what you want. He's hit perfectly throughout the postseason. He's hitting over 500. He has not come through in the big moment. He just hasn't. I'm sorry. That strikeout in game one is gonna sit in your head for a while, especially if they lose the series. But this was a moment. Mm-hmm. This was everything. To hit a pitch that was that outside that had no chance of being called a strike, and to drive it the way that he did, and for it to be a game-tying home run in its 6-1 comeback. I mean, that home run has everything that great players need to have in big postseason moments. And, just from my perspective, Stace, being in Madison Square Garden, we were 90% of the crowds watching, because the Rangers played so poorly, is watching the Yankee game on their phone.
Right.
And the whole crowd jumped up and screamed as if the Rangers scored a goal.
Oh, that's funny.
It was nuts. And the Let's Go Yankees chant going on must have made the Rangers players feel great. But the Let's Go Yankees chants going on, it was unbelievable.
Well, I was at the reverse. I was at a game in 94 when the Rangers were in the playoffs, and when they showed the score, the days before phones, so we didn't know what was going on. And the only way we knew what was going on, unless someone had a transistor radio in their ear, was if they put the score up on the scoreboard. And there were a few times where I was at baseball games in 94 where they updated Knicks scores and Ranger scores.
That's amazing.
And the chants broke out. Yeah.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
The Mariners are one win away from the ALCS.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Mariners take game 3 of the ALDS 8-4 tonight in Detroit. Logan Gilbert was 6 strong. We'll talk about his fantastic night. We'll talk about this offense, putting it all together. We'll talk about tomorrow's game. We now know who's starting that one as the Mariners look to clinch this series and go to the ALCS for the first time since 2001. And it looks like that game will be played at noon Pacific time tomorrow, so long as the Yankees hold on to this, at the time of this recording, 9-6 lead over the Toronto Blue Jays at Yankee Stadium. But yeah, so 8-4, the final score. This game, though, was more of a beatdown than that final score would indicate. The Tigers get 3 runs there in the ninth, made things a little scary there because Caleb Ferguson just couldn't throw strikes. But this was really a complete game from the Mariners across the board. Logan Gilbert was fantastic. The offense was able to score in multiple innings, and they did it in a multitude of ways. They hit homers, they moved the line a little bit, and most importantly, they took advantage of some Tigers' mistakes. So, Colby, reaction following this huge win?
Yeah, I think the best way to classify this win was passive dominance. Like, it wasn't just like a beatdown from inning 1. It wasn't like you scored 9 in an inning and just coasted after that. It wasn't like the Tigers didn't have chances to get back in this game. And at the end of the day, they did, kind of. Yeah, it was just kind of passive dominance. He scored 2 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 8th, 2 in the 9th. You hit some home runs. So you got really good starting pitching, and with the exception of one guy, really good bullpen tonight. So just phenomenal pitching on top of it. It's just if you remove Caleb Ferguson from the equation, this is a 8-1 game where the Tigers have 3 hits. Like, it was just sheer dominance in kind of a slow creeping way, because again, it's not like the Mariners had an inning where they scored 4 and another where they scored 6. You just kind of 1 here, 2 here, 1 here, 2 here. And yeah, so it was just about as clean of a win as you could hope for. I mean, JP made a throwing error that actually wasn't an error, because you can't assume a double play. Yet another genius rule of scorekeeping defenses. So Logan gets tagged with an earned run, even though he, induced the perfect double play ball. It's still, he gets tagged with an earned run out of that. So Logan was even better than his stat line would indicate, but also maybe not as good as the stat line would indicate. It was kind of a weird night for Logan, as it often is now. Like, it's just kind of becoming Logan's thing. But yeah, I think, again, aside from the Caleb Ferguson appearance, which was utter disaster, no question about it. You just really dominated this game. Like, I never really felt like they were going to lose this game. Like, there were certainly times where I'm like, oh, the Tigers can get right back in it here. But like, I never seriously thought that like the Mariners might not win this one. So it really was just kind of, again, just passive, quiet dominance. And you did it tonight without Julio really contributing. You did it tonight without Polanco contributing, without Naylor contributing. Your 3, 4, 5 went hitless tonight.
Josh Naylor, by the way, has had some really good swings in this series and just nothing to show for it. Like, he had that one, early on in this game where it looked like he hit that ball about 600 feet, thanks in large part to the terrible camera angles of Fox Sports, which, by the way, that's not just a Comerica Park thing. There were a couple of instances like that at T-Mobile Park in this series as well. Yeah, I mean, like, it feels like he's close. It feels like he's close.
Right. It doesn't feel like he's, I mean, like, the fly out to right center field, that's just the wrong place to hit it in Comerica. If you hit it if you hook it 20 feet to the right, that's way out, and so he also had a screaming line drive that was like right at Carpenter, and Carpenter actually caught this one. So it's not like Naylor had a bad night. It's just that he went hitless tonight.
You got some real contributions out of your 7, 8, and 9 tonight, which is a huge difference from how games 1 and 2 went. Dom Canzone with a walk, Victor Robles with a big double, which leads to the Mariners breaking the ice. Victor Robles
all downhill after that, though.
He had a very weird game. He read that ball that JP hit that he wound up scoring on. He read that ball wrong though, and
terribly.
It looked like he was going to plant himself there at third, and then the throw gets by Dingler, and then he makes a risky decision to go home on that one, but it also has a great slide to get his foot there and keeps his foot
flat. Yep.
Yeah, keeps his foot flat on the ground, beats the tag to score there. But then, he gets on second later on in this game after Kerry Carpenter just bungled what should have been an easy catch. Yeah. And then he tries to steal third
with 2 outs.
With 2 outs, creates an out there at third. So weird
not to mention
game.
The at bat that he just punted by just trying to bunt for a hit repeatedly. Yeah. But anyways, it was just passive dominance, and still, again, some mistakes. Victor had a couple of them, and JP had one, made up for it, and then some though. But
so that's the last guy to mention there is JP goes 2 for 2 tonight. Has the big home run after the errant throw, which wasn't actually an error, but whatever. It was an errant throw that would have resulted in a double play there, but didn't. But he makes up for that. He gets that run back that scored on the throw immediately. The very, very next half inning.
It's great timing too. You don't want to give the Tigers any reason to think that they're back in it, and you just punch them right back in the face after you make that little mistake. So, really, and that was timing.
And that was kind of the theme all night long, right? The Mariners scored 2 in what was it, the 3rd inning? When they scored 2? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they had an opportunity for more there, where they had Jack Flaherty on the ropes. Julio strikes out, Polanco strikes out, Naylor hits the ball that I said looked like it was going to go. It looked like it was going to go 600 feet. That ends the inning, and you're thinking like, okay, well, that's a huge missed opportunity there. If the Tigers, get at least one here in the next half inning, then they're going to have some momentum. But Logan gets through that inning, and the Mariners offense gets right back after it. Gino hits the home run, and Cal drives in the fourth run of the game. And again, after JP botches that throw, he comes back, he hits the home run, makes it 5-1, gets that run back. Just a great night from the offense. And like you mentioned, they did it without getting really anything from Julio, from Polo, and from Josh Naylor. So nice to see the other guys come through. Obviously Cal, but nice to see Radio Rosarena with a couple of hits tonight. Eugenio Suarez get on the board. Yeah, with that huge
also
home
had
run.
A nice walk in the first too. Nice at bat.
He did. And then like we talked about, the 7, 8, 9 guys, huge.
Gino also made a nice play in the field. The barehanded play. Yep. Was that McKinstry who tried to bunt? Which
that to me was
for that.
That to me was the play of the game, honestly, because the first runner gets on, and Meadows bunts. It was Meadows, and it was a really good bunt. And Gino barehands it, and I didn't see the replay, but watching it live, it seemed like his footwork kind of got messed up, and he was a little bit off balance,
throwing backwards, throwing off his back foot, falling backwards, and all that. But he still had enough on the throw to get him by a step.
And that would have been a huge momentum shift if Meadows got on there, because you got Carpenter waiting. And then, that was just a huge moment in the game. I thought that really was the play of the game.
Simply had to do something at quarterback, and that something is a trade for Joe Flacco.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast.
James, it's Joe Flacco for the Cincinnati Bengals, not a name that we discussed, an in-division trade, a trade with the Browns, the first that we've heard of a trade attempted with the Cleveland Browns since Sashi Brown tanked the A.J. McCarron trade years ago. What was your first reaction to seeing the name Joe Flacco?
A couple of things. One, surprised because it was in division, but certainly when you look, and I looked at just the options, there aren't many teams that would be willing to trade their backup because they're contenders. And because they don't want to be in the position the Bengals are in now where they're scrambling. And so I just don't think there were many options out there. Joe Flacco is certainly one where you look at that Browns quarterback room and they clearly want to get those rookies involved, and it makes sense. And they weren't able to strike lightning in a bottle with Flacco like they did a few years ago in 2023 when they made the playoffs. And I think that was pretty clear. And so it made sense for every reason from a trade possibility outside of the division part. And shocker, Mike Brown isn't necessarily a big Browns fan since all of the family history there. And so that's why these interdivision trades are, I wouldn't say common, but they've become more common over the past few years. But I never really wrap my head around or think about Bengals Browns because there's just so much history. And yet they decided to make a move, and it's a move that as we were recording, it's official now. The Bengals, they plan on starting Joe Flacco Sunday in Green Bay. So he's going to make his Bengals debut right away, hit the ground running here. He's less than 2 years younger than Zach Taylor. And so that might be part of it too, is they think he's a veteran, someone that completed nearly 65% of his passes last year, is a fast learner, and can hit the ground running with the Bengals. There's a lot of layers to this, Jake. But that first one, it is surprising to see them make a deal with the Browns. But when you look at Joe Flacco, the player, and his experience, I get why they would be willing to go that route, especially when you look at the cost.
He played against the Bengals in week 1, played pretty well in that game. He was the victim of a ton of drops. The Browns are dropping 10% of the passes thrown their way this year, which is kind of crazy. That was a drop rate for Joe Flacco in Cleveland. He's obviously played for a bunch of teams in recent years and has played partial seasons for a bunch of teams in recent years. Was pretty solid for Indianapolis last year. Was pretty solid for Cleveland 2 years ago. Is another year later now. Was pretty solid against the Bengals in week 1. Can't really move all that well, and is going to be in Cincinnati as he was in Cleveland behind a pretty bad defensive or offensive line. He was being pressured on 40% of his dropbacks in Cleveland. And when he was pressured, that's when things really went haywire for Flacco, really embracing the YOLO life when he was pressured. He had a 6% big time throw rate, according to PFF, and a 6.6% turnover worthy play rate when he was under pressure with the Browns. The yards per attempt numbers, not very good. The Cleveland offense, obviously limited by its offensive line, limited by its weapons. They had some good tight ends, the receivers, leaving a lot to be desired. And like I said, those drops really hurting him. And overall, like, take the Cincinnati game for Flacco for an example. He was a bit unlucky with some of the interceptions. He has thrown 6 interceptions this year, but a little bit of that, at least against the Bengals in particular, was some bad luck and some bad bounces and some bad receiver play that led to that. So there's all that about Joe Flacco. But to me, this comes back to, James, the idea that they saw Jake Browning and finally decided enough is enough. And you heard that from Zach Taylor in his post-game and Monday pressers, that they're considering options. The way that they're turning the ball over isn't okay. And I think the fact that Jake Browning made it through that entire game tells you what they think about their other QB options. Mike White was also released as part of this series of moves from the Bengals on Tuesday. They had to do something. They could not continue to just throw Jake Browning to the wolves the way he was playing this year, the way he was playing late, the way he was playing inaccurately, the way he was playing just entirely breaking down at the hint of pressure, making rash decisions. Couldn't keep doing it. The whole idea here is try to buy yourself the chance that Joe Burrow can get back. Just try to find a way to give yourself that chance. And I think rightly the Bengals decided that Jake Browning wasn't giving them that chance. We'll see if Joe Flacco is the right direction.
For sure. It's a couple of things. First things first, Joe Flacco is going to turn the ball over too. But what they're banking on is he's also going to deliver some explosive plays. Like, you can deal with some turnovers if you also get touchdowns with them. And Jake Browning, the only time he's thrown a touchdown as a starter for this team is when they were already out of the game. And in his 3 starts, being outscored 113-37 with that fourth quarter flurry that makes it look way better. 21 points in the fourth quarter the other day.
And the Drew Sample garbage time touchdown. So
yeah.
like 28 of those points being in garbage time.
Yeah. I mean, they just haven't been competitive. And so, like, I see some people saying, oh, well, behind this line, or I get it. It's not perfect. It's flawed. It sucks that we're here. Let's be honest. It sucks that we're talking about a Joe playing quarterback that isn't Joe Burrow. But that's where they are. And if you keep trotting Jake out there, you're right. The season's over. And I'm telling you, I've tried to hammer this home, and I'm going to hammer it home one more time, because there's going to be so many people that say punt on the season. Joe Burrow is working his ass off right now to try to get back. He's told everybody that will ask, everybody. And I'm not saying me, because I haven't asked. But he's trying to come back this year. His plan is to come back this year. And so whether you look at Joe in the eye, or you look at Jamar Chase in the face, or T. Higgins, or you could go down the line, Trey Hendrickson, keep going and say, hey, we are going to, because I think the offensive line has done enough the past 2 weeks to give them a chance in the games. And Jake Browning has not given them a chance in these games. You had to do something. And if Joe Flacco is the guy, and I think we need to peel back more layers. I think there's logic behind this, but why they went after Joe is to do sort of the Russell Wilson idea. The reason why I mentioned Russell Wilson multiple times over the past couple of weeks is because I think moonball Russ and check down Russ, I think that could make sense. Maybe that's what Joe becomes. And they become this big play, man, Jamar's down there somewhere offense. And if he's not, then check it down, and there's going to be some interceptions. But if you can get your guys in space around the line of scrimmage here and there and connect on some big plays, maybe you can look up and beat some of these teams that are on your schedule. And look, Green Bay is a heck of a place to start, but then you have Pittsburgh, you have the Jets, you have the Bears, you have Pittsburgh again, you have the Patriots. Like, it's not like you're playing 5 straight Super Bowl contenders. Maybe they can turn it around. And so I'm not going to knock the Bengals for making a move here. And maybe Joe has enough with these weapons. These are the best weapons Joe Flacco has probably ever had. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's enough there to get the most out of 40-year-old Joe Flacco.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Baltimore Ravens had an extremely busy Tuesday, signing CJ Gardner-Johnson and trading away Odafe Oweh.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast.
The one about signing CJ Gardner-Johnson, trading away Odafe Oweh. We had our morning show, and there's just so much content and coverage coming to you every single day here on Locked On Ravens from that Ravens perspective. Jam-packed show today. The Ravens, they look to tip their hand on even more moves after their busy day based off of what they did. Also, Eric DeCosta clearly admitted a mistake after trading away Odafe Oweh, and we'll get into a little bit about who CJ Gardner-Johnson is, as well as Alohi Gilman, who the Ravens acquired in that Oweh trade. Today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Here to dive into all the madness that happened in Baltimore yesterday is former Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Super Bowl champion, Qadri Ismail of Missile Training and MissileTraining.com, as well as the Locked On Ravens squad show. And Q, man, I mean, look, I think we were both saying, whether it be on the squad show or you and I talking, that something had to give with this Ravens team being 1-4, with the performances we've seen. I know coaching changes were discussed, maybe other personnel moves, but certainly we figured out how the Ravens felt about this roster, because it looks a lot different than it did 24 hours ago right now.
Yeah, it does. I think this is where a 1-4 team that has the Rams coming up, then the bye week, and then you go through the gauntlet of your AFC North opponents. Like, the elephant in the room is you got to get better, period, in the discussion. Into a role, coaches will get fired, GMs will get replaced if you sit back and do nothing. This was supposed to be the win at all costs, win now proposition. That right now is where we're at in DEFCON 4. Desperation and desperate times calls for you giving away a guy who simply wasn't the productive specimen that we thought he was going to be. And you're getting some safety help that you desperately need, because you got a whole bunch of young dudes that really, the way you play defense, which is a heck of a lot of big nickel, if you don't have the guys to help you solidify that mainstay of your defense, season is over. It's done. It's over. So you had to make a decision. They made the decision. They got it done. We'll see how it works out. I know Freddie Jackson, a.k.a. Eddie Jackson, from last year, like, okay, he came in and he went. And it was like, what in the world? So just because you get a guy, I'm not going to be, oh, this is the greatest, let's grade it out as an A. We don't know until he comes in and see what he has in store. That's what I'm looking at when I look at this opportunity for these guys to come in and play.
Here's my thing about what this says, because obviously when you make moves like this, and when you kind of go over this turnover, again, it was only bringing in one guy, or bringing in, I guess, two guys, and then moving off of one. This, to me, I think the Ravens have tipped their hand that, hey, this is not the roster we want to rock with here. We've seen enough. We're going to make moves. And I think more moves are on the horizon. I think the Ravens have tipped their hand here, but I don't think there's a clear path right now. I think there are two clear paths, not one clear path. What I mean by that is I think the Ravens can go in two different directions here, depending on maybe how this week goes against the Rams or how they're feeling about their roster. They can either use, because again, with the Oweh trade, the full trade itself was the Ravens got Alohi Gilman and a 5th-round pick for Oweh and a 7th-round pick. They also cleared about $7-8 million in cap space with the move as well. So one path is to use that cap space, use some of your draft capital to go out there and swing for a big fish, swing for a couple of big guys. You know, you can make a couple trades, improve your roster, and try to go for it this year. Or this could be the beginning of what could be a fire sale for the Ravens. We know there are a lot of guys who are up for extensions. Oweh was one of them. They clearly did not want to pay him, which we'll talk a little bit more in the second part of the show about. But they could also, the path could be, this is the beginning of a retooling year, get draft capital, and make sure that you have enough in your locker room to maybe go and go about it next year. This was a lost year, which in itself is a pretty big failure. But I think those are the two paths that you are looking at, Q. Do you see it that way, or do you think there are more paths that the Ravens could take after a move like this and maybe stand pat and rely on internal development? Is that something you see?
Well, I think the defensive line needs to be addressed. I mean, that's the hugest elephant in the room. And you got to get guys on this ball club that can shore it up. If you look at, I mean, Travis Jones, as much as we want to laud him and praise him, all you got to do is just double team him. And then pretty much if you're a good offensive line, everybody else get the duo block and boom, linebackers aren't going to do anything. Go ahead and, plug up whoever is that linebacker. Now you got a back that is going, 5-6 yards down the football field before he even gets touched. Safety, again, he's not aggressive enough to play the run effectively. And so with that, you need a D lineman that can be disruptive. You go ahead and you have drop back passes. Well, we saw C.J. Stroud, great quarterback, not an all-timer, but certainly his start to his young career has been a really strong one. But we just saw him march down the football field, literally march down the field. And there was nothing that they could do to stop him. I think that is the glaring thing when you look at this Ravens defense, their ineffectiveness of getting pressure up the middle and stopping the run. Like, you can't do that. AFC North, forget about it. The chance of even remotely thinking about a wild card berth, forget about it. Then you're talking about, okay, what's next? Somebody's going to be cleaning house. And it might just be Steve Bisciotti. If it's Eric DeCosta, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But if it is Steve Bisciotti, we know it's going to be some cleaning of the house. And that cleaning means that both EDC and John Harbaugh going to be on the chopping block. So this is going to be where, for Eric, hey, bro, listen, I gave John everything I could. I cleared out some cap space to go ahead and make some strong decisions. Wherever those strong decision guys are, we need to go ahead and see it, make it, and then I gave it to him. Well, John, is up to him and his staff. He put the staff together. Now let's go out there and if it works, great. Then we'll keep him. If not, Steve, I think we need to find somebody else.
If I'm John Harbaugh, I am running to Eric DeCosta's office and I am banging down that door. Say, Eric, please trade the picks, because we need to win now. If he doesn't trade these picks and holds on to them and the Ravens have a disappointing exit, I think we all know the writing on the wall for John Harbaugh, which is likely he's not the coach of this team next season, like you were alluding to. So if I'm John Harbaugh, I am trying to get Eric DeCosta to trade away a first-round pick, trade away a second-round pick, because those picks don't matter to Harbaugh if he's not on the team next season. So that's the path that I think he wants the Ravens to take, as he should. But I'm going to leave it up to you, Q. I'm going to put you right in the middle. You got a fork in the road. This season for the Ravens, based off everything you've seen, based off the moves that were made with Gardner Johnson and Oweh and everything, if you have three choices, if you're the Ravens, based off your confidence level, you can either pick the path that is they make a splash for a big guy, trade away that draft capital, and try to go for it and revive this season. There's another path where the Ravens hold on to their draft capital. They try to get more capital, and they have a fire sale. They punt this season. Or they try to rely on the roster they already have, rely on youth, and try to win that way. Out of those three paths, which path are you taking right now?
So I will say, if you're doing any level of punting and keeping draft capital, then what are you doing with Lamar Jackson as far as his contract? If I'm Lamar Jackson, then I'm like, oh, okay, so y'all going to screw up my year that y'all gave me allegedly the best roster that I've had ever. Okay, well, then I'm going to shut it down, and, man, that hamstring just ain't getting better. So we don't want that. We want them to use it all. Use everything you got to get some dude to come up in this mug and be like, yo, I'm your game changer. Let's go. And if it's multiple dudes, clearly right now they're starting with multiple dudes as far as safety is concerned. But yet at the same time, again, D-line, and let's go ahead and get rid of the O-lineman, get in somebody else from an O-line aspect of things. Like, come on. We don't have time to waste. This is do or die time. This is it. This is what you're looking at. And so I think that the bigger picture is like what is now looking like. And if you got the capital from a draft / you also got cap space, and you're also talking about, hey, Lamar, we want you to give us some love as far as the cap friendliness, then I think you need to be as aggressive as you humanly possibly can to not punt this season.
I 100% agree. The move is not to punt. The move is to go for it. Go for it now. You have Lamar Jackson. You're 1-5 if at the end of this week, potentially. Yeah, that's a really bad spot to be in if you lose to the Rams. I get it. But there should be no sense of fire sale on this team right now.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche.
It's always good to get the opening day win, no matter what the sport is, because you just feel like when you win, you're going undefeated. When you lose, you're losing every game of the year. So it just, you can actually just settle in for the next couple days till the Avalanche play again and just be comfortable that you got the first win under your belt. You got the 2 points. You don't have to deal with the oh no, is this a recreation of last year's start? All of the stuff that comes with that. Was it perfect? No, by no means was it perfect. It was ugly at times. Penalty-filled game. But the second period was what won this thing for the Avalanche. But give me your overall thoughts, and then we'll kind of just go piece by piece.
I mean, started off for sure really ugly. The Avs did not seem to have a ton of control over the game, I thought, in the very early goings of it. In fact, it kind of looked like LA was going to sort of hold the pace of the game. I felt like every time the Avs tried to establish in the zone or do anything, they would just lose control of the puck, and the Kings would kind of push it back into our zone, had us hemmed in a couple of times. Second period starts, or actually really the end of the first period, second half of the first period. And then the second period was just Avs hit the gas and they never let up from there. So it was, I mean, overall, when you win 4-1, you feel pretty dominant. There's plenty of things that I feel like we could nitpick on and probably will do over the next couple of days. But like you said, when it's your first game, you can get it out of the way. Not only are you not starting off like you did last year, you do it in a pretty dominant fashion. You feel good. And so the next couple of days become a lot more of a, all right, we can breathe and then we can adjust. And I think that's what the Avs do.
Yeah, it was like, it was not a perfect game by any stretch, but you won it 4-1.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. This wasn't like, a grind and you're having to grind out a 2-1 win or something like that. You still put up 4 points because what the second period brought was what this team is capable of.
Exactly.
I didn't like that it kind of like went backwards in the third, and it was back to a little like sloppy play and all that. But in the first, the Kings were everywhere. The Kings looked good. They were forechecking hard. They were right on the Avs, giving them no time and space. And I don't know what changed for them. Maybe it was just the Avs just kicking it into another gear. Excuse me. But yeah, about halfway through the first and then all of the second, it was just like the Avalanche were the aggressors. without a doubt. And it was nice to see that and it was really coming from all four lines. And I even posted on social about like, I thought after the first, the worst line, not to say that they were bad, but the worst line was the top line.
Was the top line for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, all the other lines looked pretty solid.
I have a note from the end of the first period, like just trying to write down all my thoughts throughout the game. And at the end of the first, I wrote down Gavin Brindley is really impressing me. And on the fourth line, he played with energy. He had some speed. He was aggressive. He did end up making a couple of mistakes through the game as well, which it's his second NHL game. So to be expected. But man, yeah, you're not joking. That third and fourth line, they looked good.
I think whatever line Brindley is playing on, that could be like an energy line. You know what I mean? You're going to get the energy line from wherever Nathan McKinnon's playing. But it's nice to have like another guy that can bring that when needed and just bring something to if the team is just down and out and they're just slogging through, he's a guy that can give you a shift that just reinvigorates the team. And you don't always have to rely on Nathan McKinnon to do that or Cale Makar to do that. Like that was really good, but sure it was him. And really that fight that broke out, it's maybe that's what turned it for the Avalanche in the first, really.
I think it energized them. I hate that fight. It was such a clean hit from Manson.
We talked about this not that long ago.
Yeah,
about
I know.
When a clean hit is delivered and there's got to be a fight. Like why? It's just an embarrassment thing. Manson with a massive hit on Fogel, and then he gets into a fight, and that really kind of turned the tide. I'm thinking about it after that for the first. Yeah,
I like John Buccigross. If I had to hear one more time about how I can't even think of his name right now. I have it in my notes, but how his brother was a UFC fighter. Like, his brother fights in the UFC. His brother's a UFC fighter. I'm like, you keep saying this as he's just getting beaten by Josh Manson. And it looks like Manson got some stitches, but I completely agree.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, it looked like the top of his eye was split open, and that might be why he wasn't out there to start the second period in the box. But
all right.
No, I think like that whole sequence, while I thought it was absolutely ridiculous, it had the exact opposite effect of what I think the Kings wanted. I think the Kings wanted to just step up their energy and try to take complete control over the game. And instead, what I think it did is it just ignited the entire Avalanche team. And they didn't look back from that point. From that point on, it was almost 100% Avs, it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, who was it? I can't remember who the guy, whatever, doesn't matter who he fought. But it was just, I didn't really expect a fight like that after that hit, although I should have.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way we talked about this a week or so ago. I thought there was going to be like some pushing and shoving and stuff like that. Because I get that part, but like dropping the gloves because of it just didn't. I don't get that stuff. But hey, that's the way it is. And then fast forward to the end of the game, and Brant Clark is playing with fire here. I don't know if he was just like, hey, the game's over. I'm just going to start gooning it up here. But anybody that's coming in front of him, he's just cross-checking them. And I think the Avs just had it. They just had it with them. And that's how the Avalanche address this stuff. They don't go like head hunting and looking to pick fights. But if you're going to do just goon stuff like that, they're not going to stand for that. And that's where guys like Brent Burns can stand in and just, be the towering figure of, you're not going to mess with my guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just, I like that part of the game in hockey, but at the same time, it's like, but if you're doing it where there could be like serious injury here. And what Clark was doing was, cross-checking in the back. It was Lekin in that he kind of went headfirst into the boards.
Headfirst into the boards over Wedgwood too. I mean, all of that.
Yeah. And Wedgwood, he was kind of checking his wrist afterwards.
Yeah,
like,
I know. And it's like, not a fan of that. Yeah. So I have no problem with McKinnon's interference penalty necessarily there, because it looked like it was it probably should have been a roughing more than an interference, because he just went straight over and blasted.
I don't care what it was. Yeah.
All right, Mac. I'm kind of all right with that one too. But and they said it on the broadcast here, and this one I agreed with. I do think that Landeskog's fight in the preseason 100% kind of set up some of this tone to be maintained throughout the entire season, and they've already carried it over into game one. These guys aren't going to stand for shenanigans like that, so not bad.
Nope. All right, let's get our first break in here, and we'll come back. We'll discuss kind of individual players as far as, like, you know, the goal scored. Martin Natius, 2 right off the bat.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle, love the team they're taking into the Cotton Bowl, and there's lots of reasons to love what they got going on.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners.
We're going to talk about what Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle had to say during their weekly press conference. Jay, what stood out to you the most?
Well, of course, everyone asked the question, what is up with John Mateer? Is he going to play? Has he been throwing? Has he been working out? Has he been lifting his arm? All those questions, of course,
is he drinking with his right or his left?
Yeah, exactly. You know, does he write with his right hand or his left hand in class? Is he typing with both? There's so many questions everybody's asking. It's funny because, of course, Pete Thamel ruined everything from ESPN. He felt the need to drop that there's a possibility that the sources are telling him there's a possibility that John Mateer is going to play. So, of course, he would drop that like right before Brent Venables has his presser, which I feel bad for BV because we knew the questions were going to come anyway. But now there's more intense questions coming from that because not only did you get Pete Thamel from ESPN, but then Matt Zenith from CBS Sports kind of refutes a little bit of it, saying it's more of a possibility, less than that it's gonna happen, where Thamel felt more like he was kind of getting closer to being more definitive with that answer, John. So just basically put it this way, Brent Venables don't know, and he's not lying. That's the best part about the way that he was able to position how he said it was John Mateer hadn't done good on good practice yet. It was Tuesday. It hadn't happened yet. They usually don't do that until Tuesdays, usually Tuesday or Wednesday. So he wasn't lying. It's just kind of got to wait and see what the protocol and the healing goes. But besides the John Mateer 30 million questions where he cut everybody off.
So if you've ever been through like any kind of like interrogation training, they teach you something called a simple, truthful statement. Yeah. And it's something that you can say when you're under interrogation, whether it's from, immigration officials and you're just going through immigration, you're going through security, whatever it is, about who you are, what you're there in the country to do. It's a simple, truthful statement. It is what it is. Okay. And if there's stuff that's in your mind that you don't want people to know, it's good to have this simple, truthful statement that you can fall back on, that's true and is not going to get you in trouble. So Brent Venables had his simple, truthful statement, his STS down pat for this press conference. He had it before Pete Thamel ever broke news, quote unquote, and he was ready to go to the podium with this, and he was ready to take on all those questions. And I applaud BV. I do. You don't have to let it all out there. You don't have to tell everybody all the things. You're going to have an availability report, and you're going to have to make that known. But beyond that, play the game. Don't hate the players, hate the game.
That's exactly it. You don't have to, you want to give an answer. You want to be as quote unquote truthful as possible, while at the same time you want to leave the mystery. The whole purpose of the deception with this is that, you don't want everybody to know what's actually going to happen. You want Texas to prepare for both quarterbacks. Yep. And at this point, as Sarkisian mentioned, we're going to have to prep for both, because regardless of what the reports come out, Oklahoma can still go out there and not trot John Mateer at all. Mateer is going to be dressed. Let's just put it that way. He'll be dressed fully, in helmet, in jersey, in everything, as if he's going to play. We won't know until the first snap actually happens. So outside of that portion of it,
what else stood out to you?
Yeah, but Ben Arbuckle talked about that as well. But I loved how Brent Venables has focused really on this defense. He's leaned in on them. He talked about Texas and gave their props. We're not going to give Texas props here. Sorry, guys, it's just not going to happen today. I'm gonna make John be as petty as he normally is.
I did enough of that on the
media.
live reaction show. I gave enough respect for that. I think I'm done.
I'm bringing Petty John back out. You will be Petty John moving
it's over.
forward.
It's Wednesday now. Respect has been given. It's time for rivalry week to actually happen.
Yeah, and BV gave that. But I did love how he leaned in on talking about the defensive line. You know, David Stone, all of them call themselves the dog pound. And he said that if they were out there playing like they were pansies, we'd have an issue with this. But they're leaning into it. They care. They practice hard. You can see the attention to detail in the way that they practice. And to me, that's huge because it really makes me feel like, oh, he's built a true cohesive unit in this defense. And there was one other thing I wanted to point out. Somebody asked him the question about building that type of environment in the transfer portal era. And, you know, John and BV mentioned that, you know, even this is more of a selfish, quote unquote, type era where, you know, people are a little bit more for themselves. He loves that this team and this group of guys have bought in for each other. And I've seen people point this out, like David Stone seems like one of the most selfless defensive linemen out there because he'll sacrifice himself for somebody else to get the play. And then the play ends up always coming back to his direction. And I am glad that we were able to build this type of culture. People wanted this and did not realize how much work it takes to get to this point. Here you are, guys. I would like an apology.
Yeah, and you not only see it with David Stone, but you see it all across the defensive line. You see it all across the defense. You see it with guys like Elijah Thomas, a true freshman playing on special teams. Like, it's that kind of mindset that's, hey, I'm going to give myself for the team. I'm not going to give myself for my stats, my accolades, all those things. And, you know, whether it's the guys on the interior running the stunts, it's, you know, them doing what they have to do to spy the quarterback, whatever it is, it's, you know, Kobe and Kip and Sammy, you know, being as excited for a guy like Owen Heineke to get snaps as they are for themselves. Like, that's the brotherhood that Brent Venables has always talked about building, and the culture he's always talked about building. It's being just as excited for your buddy making the play as you might be for yourself. And you truly see that, man. And that's what makes this team so much fun to watch, is like, you can see the love and the care and the enjoyment they have playing with each other and playing together, and the effort they put out. It's incredible, man. And it's going to take them a long way, because when you go and you want to fight for your brother and you want to fight for your friends, and I mean, that takes the motivation to a whole different level. It's beyond just winning games or making plays or collecting stats. It's like, you don't want to let your guy down. You want to do everything you can because you know he's going to give everything he can.
Yeah, it's they all give a bleep. That's probably the best way to say it. And you can tell that they care about each other and each other's success. Brent Venables even talked about like Peyton Bowen and how he's taken over as a leader in that secondary, in which this is what we was hoping for. We was hoping the 5 stars that we were bringing in would really start to take over and do these things. And you're starting to see that out of your 3s, your 4s, and your 5s. You're seeing leadership. They went and got specific types of players that they wanted on this team, and they're all blossoming. Every single one that you all hoped will blossom, they're starting to show. That is what's exciting about this. You're getting it from your guys that were 3 stars that we told y'all that, hey, don't be surprised if this player shows out. And then you get your 5 stars that, hey, just give the 5 stars some time. They're going to find their space. They've all found it. We're starting to see that on that side of the ball. Now, offensively, there's a lot more transfers in there than there are recruits. We're going to build that portion of it up. Offense is a little bit easier because you can bring in a whole bunch of dudes into the portal and they can work together and make it a little bit better of a unit. Defense is where it's the toughest. And Brent Venables has now built that from the foundations of recruiting. Like, look at it, John. You've got one dude in the interior that's a transfer on the defensive line. You've got one edge that's a transfer out there. And you got the safety in Kendall Daniels /linebacker/edge. The defense is all dudes they recruited. Like, who else can say that? Who else can point that and say, well, actually, our entire defense is really built on dudes that we brought in? I mean, Kendall Dobie is another one that's, well, actually, he's considered a recruit because he's JUCO. Yeah. So he technically counts as a recruit. So yeah, you went and got the dudes you wanted specifically. And this is why I always talked about how this staff has shown that they really like their players. Mm-hmm. And that's why you see them playing their guys more than anything. And then they kind of supplement with transfer. So offensively, we've got a lot of supplemental dudes in there that we're still working with. We're still trying to get molded. And I mean, Deion Burks has been here, quote unquote, the longest, him and Fabici. Now hopefully you'll start to see them to blossom into something bigger.